You know, it's funny. There are some things you see every single day, so much that you just stop, well, seeing them. The power outlet is definitely one of those things. But what if I told you that its placement, that specific spot near the floor, is actually a fascinating story about physics, economics, and safety? Let's dive into the hidden logic of this thing we all take for granted.
I mean, it's a fair question, right? Once you actually think about it, you realize you probably don't know the answer. It feels like it's just always been that way. But it's not a random choice, and it's not just about how it looks.
The real reason is this incredible mashup of century-old physics, straight-up modern economics, and a whole bunch of safety rules you've probably never even heard of. It's a journey that connects everything from the invention of the light bulb to the way a modern house is built.
Okay, so to understand why outlets ended up low on the wall, we have to go back to a time when they weren't on the wall at all. We're talking about the very beginning of electricity in the home.
Picture this. It's the early 1900s. Your home has electricity, but it's only for one thing, light. So the only place to get power is the light socket, which is, of course, hanging from the ceiling. When the very first appliances came out, like an iron or a fan, you literally had to unscrew a light bulb just to plug it in, with the cord just dangling from the middle of the room. It was awkward.
The whole situation was a mess until this brilliant invention by Harvey Hubble in 1904, the separable plug. It was a simple, genius two-part system. You'd screw a base into the light socket, and it would just stay there. Then, the plug could snap in and out of that base. So if you tripped over the cord, the plug just popped out. No more ripping the wiring straight out of your ceiling. This was the game changer that started to separate power from lighting.
And you can literally see the journey unfold over time right here. Power slowly but surely migrated from the ceiling down to the baseboards as these new convenience outlets started showing up. By the mid-20th century, a standard height started to take hold, and then, by the 60s, the three-pronged, grounded outlet we all recognized became the law of the land for safety.
So the outlet made it down to the wall, but why did it settle so low? Well, the reasons are a perfect blend of simple physics, hard economics, and just pure common-sense practicality.
It really starts with basic physics, gravity. When an outlet is low, the floor takes the weight of the cord. This means there's no constant downward pull on the plug. Now, why does that matter? Because a plug that's constantly being tugged on can get loose, and a loose connection can cause electrical arcing, which is a major fire hazard. Plus, let's be honest, a cord that runs along the floor is just way less of a trip hazard than one dangling down a wall.
And then, of course, there's the money. This quote from an electrician says it all. Copper wire is not cheap. Now think about building a new house with, say, 100 outlets. If you add just a couple of extra feet of wire to every single one to move it up the wall, you're talking about a huge extra cost. Keeping outlets low means using the shortest possible wire run, especially since the wiring usually comes up from the floor or down from the ceiling. It's just cheaper.
And all these factors led to a kind of unwritten rule, an industry standard. While there isn't a strict law about it, most electricians today will place the bottom of the outlet box somewhere between 12 and 16 inches off the finished floor. It just makes the whole process faster and more consistent.
And here's an awesome little piece of tradecraft that explains how that standard stays so consistent. It's called the hammer trick. A lot of electricians know that their standard hammer is about 16 inches long, so they can just plop their hammer on the floor and bam, the top of the handle is the perfect height for the outlet box. No tape measure needed. It's a simple, brilliant shortcut that keeps everything uniform on a big job.
Okay, so we've got physics, economics, and clever trade tricks all pointing down. But what about the official rulebook? We've talked about what's usually done, but what do the actual legal codes say? The answer here might actually surprise you.
You would think that the National Electrical Code, which is basically the Bible for electrical safety, would have a very specific rule saying outlets must be X inches off the floor. Right? Well, is that actually true?
Nope, believe it or not, for most outlets in your house, the NEC doesn't specify a mandatory height at all. It's much more concerned with how far apart they are from each other along the wall. And there's a really important safety reason for that. This is the rule that really matters to the code writers. It's called the 6-foot rule, and it's based on a simple fact. Most lamps and appliances come with a 6-foot cord. By making sure you're never more than 6 feet away from an outlet, the code is trying to make sure you never, ever need to use an extension cord, because extension cords are one of the leading causes of house fires. So this rule about spacing is a huge safety feature.
Okay, but wait. If the NEC doesn't set a minimum height, who does? What's stopping someone from putting an outlet right on the floor? Well, that's where a totally different set of rules comes into play.
rules that are all about making sure everyone can actually use them.
The legal minimum height for outlets doesn't come from an electrical code, it comes from an accessibility code. The Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA, requires that in many buildings the bottom of an outlet box has to be at least 15 inches from the floor. This is to make sure someone in a wheelchair can easily reach it. And even though it started for public buildings, that principle of universal design has influenced residential construction too. It effectively sets the legal floor, literally, for how low an outlet can go.
So, for the better part of 100 years, the basic design of the outlet hasn't really changed. But right now, we are on the edge of a massive evolution in how we get power.
And this evolution is happening in a few key stages. First, we're seeing outlets get smarter, with built-in USB ports, so we can ditch those clumsy power bricks. The next step is modular power tracks that let you add, move, and slide outlets to wherever you need them. And the final step? Well, it might be getting rid of the plug altogether, with wireless charging built right into our desks and counters.
And what's really cool is seeing how each of these new technologies solves a modern problem. High-power USB-C outlets mean you can charge your laptop without that giant brick. Modular tracks give you total freedom in places like kitchens or workshops. And these new DC microgrids, they promise a future of ultra-efficient homes that are designed for the electronics we actually use today.
And this slide right here gives us a peek at what that future could really look like. This is an actual proposal for a home built around a DC microgrid. See, pretty much everything we use, our phones, laptops, LED lights, they all run on low-voltage DC power. But our homes are wired for high-voltage AC, so every plug needs a bulky, inefficient adapter to convert the power. This design flips that script. It has dedicated USB-C outlets everywhere for our devices and only a few traditional outlets for old-school appliances. It's a total rethinking of how a home should be wired for the 21st century.
So from a simple light socket hanging from the ceiling, down to the baseboard, and now into a future that's smart, modular, and maybe even wireless, the humble power outlet has had a pretty remarkable journey. It's an everyday object that's shaped by a hidden logic of physics, safety, and economics, and it just makes you wonder, what's next?
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more How Meets History.